Welcome to Capital Catch-Up, the podcast that breaks down what's happening on the Hill. I'm Victor.
And I'm Lenny. Today we're diving into a packed docket, new legislation, a VA subcommittee hearing, and highlights from the latest congressional record entries. Let's get started.
First on the agenda is Senate Bill 4280, the SAFE Act. This bill directs the United States Sentencing Commission to amend the federal sentencing guideline for child sexual abuse material. In plain language, it would tighten penalties for those convicted of possessing or distributing such content.
That's a significant step for law enforcement and victims, advocates. Historically, sentencing guidelines have been a tool to ensure consistency across federal courts. By updating the guideline, Congress is responding to the evolving nature of online exploitation, which has surged with the rise of dark web platforms.
Moving to agriculture, House Bill 1011, the Emergency Conservation Program Improvement Act of 2025, amends the Agricultural Credit Act of 1978. Its purpose is to remove barriers that farmers face when trying to access emergency funds after natural disasters.
Right, the Emergency Conservation Program, ECP, provides quick response assistance for things like flood or wildfire damage on private forest lands. By streamlining the loan and cost share process, the bill could help rural communities get back on their feet faster, which is especially important as climate-related events become more frequent.
Speaking of veterans, Senate Bill 410, formerly the Love Lives On Act of 2025, amends Titles 10 and 38 of the United States Code to improve benefits and services for surviving spouses of deceased service members and veterans.
Surviving spouses often face financial and healthcare challenges after a loss. This bill expands entitlement to existing benefit programs, ensuring that families receive the support they're owed. It's part of a long-standing tradition, since the World War II era, of Congress enhancing veterans' benefits.
Another veterans-focused measure is Senate Bill 478. It prohibits the Secretary of Veterans Affairs from sending certain VA-held information to the Department of Justice for use in the National Instant Criminal Background Check System.
That's a privacy safeguard. The background check system, run by the FBI, pulls data from multiple sources. By restricting the VA's data flow, the bill aims to protect veterans, medical, and service records from unnecessary exposure.
On the firearms front, we have a couple of bills. Senate Bill 119 seeks to discontinue the federal collection of transaction records from businesses that have ceased firearms operations and to require the destruction of any records already collected.
This essentially rolls back a data-gathering program that was instituted after the 2018 ghost gun controversy. Proponents argue it protects lawful gun owners' privacy, while critics worry it could hamper future investigations.
Complementing that, Senate Bill 1039 amends the definitions of firearm silencer and firearm muffler in Title 18. By clarifying these terms, the bill could affect how the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, regulates suppressors.
The distinction matters for both manufacturers and owners. A muffler, for example, is designed to reduce noise without altering the firearm's function, whereas a silencer, now more commonly called a suppressor, does both. Clear definitions help avoid legal ambiguity.
Shifting to executive authority, Senate Bill 485 proposes that any major rule issued by an executive branch agency must have the force of law only after a joint resolution of approval is enacted.
That's a big check on the rulemaking process. Historically, agencies have used major rules to implement significant policy changes without needing new legislation. Requiring a joint resolution, essentially a bill passed by both chambers and signed by the president, means Congress would have a direct say before such rules take effect.
On environmental stewardship, Senate Bill 528 reauthorizes the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. This program funds projects that improve water quality, combat invasive species, and restore habitats across the Great Lakes Basin.
The Great Lakes are a critical freshwater resource for 30 million people and a massive economic engine. The initiative, first launched in 2010, has already funded over 1,000 projects. Reauthorizing it signals continued bipartisan support for protecting those waters.
Speaking of public health, Senate Bill 545 prohibits certain uses of xylazine, a veterinary tranquilizer that has been showing up in illicit drug supplies and contributing to overdose deaths.
Xylazine isn't approved for human use, yet it's been mixed with opioids and stimulants, complicating treatment. By restricting its distribution, the bill aims to reduce accidental exposure and help curb the overdose crisis.
There's also Senate Bill 470, which amends the CARES Act to remove a requirement that lessors provide a notice to vacate. This change could affect renters and landlords navigating the post-pandemic housing market.
The original CARES provisions were designed to protect tenants during COVID-19. As the emergency wanes, removing the notice requirement could give landlords more flexibility, but consumer advocacy groups warn it might also reduce tenant protections.
Energy infrastructure gets a boost with Senate Bill 465. It directs the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to reform the interconnection queue process, essentially the line that determines how quickly new renewable energy projects can connect to the grid.
The interconnection queue has been a bottleneck for wind and solar developers. By prioritizing certain projects and streamlining approvals, the bill could accelerate the transition to clean energy, aligning with the administration's climate goals.
On the honors front, Senate Bill 567 proposes awarding a Congressional Gold Medal collectively to the 1st Rhode Island Regiment for its service during the Revolutionary War.
The Gold Medal is the nation's highest civilian honor, reserved for, quote, an achievement that has an impact on American history and culture that is likely to be recognized as a major achievement in the story of the United States. Recognizing the regiment highlights the continued effort to honor early American military contributions.
A more localized tribute comes from House Resolution 1431, which would designate the United States Postal Service facility at 2407 State Route 71, Suite 1, in Spring Lake, New Jersey, as the James J. Howard Post Office.
James J. Howard was a longtime congressman from New Jersey who championed postal reforms. Naming a post office after him is a symbolic way to honor his legacy in the community he served.
Internationally, Senate Joint Resolution 32 provides for congressional disapproval of a proposed foreign military sale to Israel. Under the Arms Export Control Act, Congress can block sales they deem contrary to U.S. interests.
This is a rare use of a joint resolution to veto a foreign military sale. It reflects ongoing debates about U.S. arms transfers and regional stability in the Middle East.
Finally, House Resolution 2066, the Investing in All of America Act of 2025, is a broad infrastructure package aimed at modernizing transportation, broadband, and clean energy projects across the country.
While the summary is brief, the title suggests a continuation of the Build Back Better ethos, investing in both urban and rural areas to close the infrastructure gap.
That covers the legislative landscape. Let's pivot to the committee hearing scheduled for today, April 16, 2026. The House Veterans Affairs Subcommittee on Economic Opportunity is holding a hearing titled Bounce Houses, Drones, and Massage Chairs, a review of VA's purchase history in the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program.
The hearing's quirky title masks a serious oversight function. The VA's Veteran Readiness and Employment (VR&E) program provides vocational rehabilitation for service-connected disabled veterans. By scrutinizing purchases, whether bounce houses for morale events, drones for training, or massage chairs for therapeutic use, the subcommittee is ensuring taxpayer dollars are spent efficiently and in line with the program's mission.
It also reflects a broader trend of congressional committees using detailed audits to improve government accountability. Historically, the VA has faced criticism over procurement practices, so this hearing could lead to tighter controls or policy revisions.
Moving on to the congressional record, the April 14, 2026 entry, Volume 172, Number 65, highlighted several key points. Representative Joe Courtney led a discussion on Congress's constitutional role in declaring war, specifically urging support for a bipartisan war powers resolution aimed at curbing unilateral presidential action in the ongoing conflict with Iran.
The War Powers Resolution, first passed in 1973 after the Vietnam War, was intended to rebalance war-making authority. A new resolution now would reinforce that balance, reminding the president that sustained military engagements require congressional authorization.
The same day, members recognized individuals for community achievements and celebrated the return of the Artemis II crew, NASA's first crewed mission beyond low Earth orbit. These recognitions underscore Congress's role in both policy and public morale.
The April 13th record, Volume 172, Number 64, was more procedural. The House, presided over by Speaker pro tempore Robert J. Whitman, approved the journal of the previous day's proceedings and then adjourned. Several executive communications, ranging from Department of Defense insignia authorizations to Department of Justice scheduling orders, were referred to the appropriate committees for further review.
Referrals are a key part of the legislative process. When an executive agency sends a communication, the House assigns it to a committee with jurisdiction, ensuring specialized oversight. It's a reminder that even routine items undergo congressional scrutiny.
To sum up, we've covered a wide array of legislation, from public safety and veterans, benefits to environmental restoration and energy grid reforms, plus a VA procurement hearing and 2 days of congressional record activity that touch on war powers, space exploration, and routine oversight.
Listeners should keep an eye on a few moving pieces. First, the SAFE Act and the Emergency Conservation Program Improvement Act are likely to move through the Judiciary and Agriculture Committees, respectively. Second, the War Powers Resolution debate will probably surface again as the Iran conflict evolves. Third, the VA subcommittee hearing could spark legislative changes to procurement rules in the VR&E program.
And don't forget the broader infrastructure push in the Investing in All of America Act, as well as the potential impact of Senate Bill 485 on how major executive rules are enacted.
That's all for today's Capital Catch-Up. Thanks for joining us.
We'll be back next week with more updates from the Hill. Stay informed and have a great week.